As Jeff was saying, the session is called Make Training Fun Again. I want to kind of introduce what we're going to get into today. How many of you have experienced this great content, but you've been bored out of your mind? Has that ever happened to you before? Right? Maybe you've gone to a training, or maybe you yourself were facilitating the training. You said, wow, this is great, but even myself, I'm bored. Has that ever happened to you? Right? Because we've got to find a way to make it a little bit different, do it a little bit different, really, right? So have you ever walked in, listened to a speaker, a presenter, or a trainer, or maybe saw the screen and immediately walked out, or wanted to? All right? It's because it's not just the training itself and the content. And I know Toyota's hardcore on the content. We sat for 3 hours yesterday on tours, and I learned all about where you get your content from. And content's only part of it, but context is the other part. So we're going to focus mostly today on the context. Later on, when we take a break, we'll jump into some small groups. You can work with the groups that you're a part of, and you can work with each other specifically on that content, but you're the content experts here. You know Toyota. I'm coming in here not to make your training more difficult. I'm not coming in to change the way you do everything. My job is to make your job easier. That's the first job. Second job is to make you look like a hero in front of the people that you're training, in front of the team leaders, the group leaders, in front of your superiors and your bosses, the supervisors, and everybody else. Is that fair? Is that okay? Works. Yeah. It works? Good. I appreciate that. So fill in the blank. Most training and lectures, what?
Boring.
Boring. Anything else?
Mandatory.
Mandatory. What's that? Last too long. There's one word I was hoping I'd find out. Exciting? No, that's not what I've never heard that before. Most training and lectures are pretty much the same. They're pretty much the same. I was talking with these two guys. How many of you know Jeff and Tommy? You know them to be pretty fair, open, reasonable guys, but they kind of speak their mind every now and then. Right? They told me yesterday, without me asking, they said in these words, most training and lectures suck. That's all right. That's what they said, right? Is it true? It's not just that they're boring, but you'd almost rather be anywhere else. Are you with me on this? By the way, I want to make sure that we have some really good fun today. So the affirmation today, if you agree with something, is going to be, oh yeah. There's a lot more energy that comes from an oh yeah than a yeah or a yes. I know this because you saw a picture of my daughter. She's a 3 native, is what she is. But I've been teaching her to kind of add a little bit more fun to our conversations. And so I said, Ella, go ahead, say yes. And she says yes. I said, say oh yeah. She goes, oh yeah, baby. I said, what? That's not okay. 30 years, you cannot be saying that, right? But there was a lot more energy that came from it. So if you agree with something, you're going to say what?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, you feel the energy right there. So we've become very comfortable with de-energizing and lecture-style sessions, have we not? Right? And that's really the main reason why I'm here. That is the reason that I was brought in. So what makes training not fun? Turn to a person on your left, on your right, and tell them real quick, what makes training not fun? I've heard some amazing things about you, and I'm really looking forward to the day. So again, thanks for your participation. If you hate lectures, you're going to love this, because I'm going to have 3 promises for you. The first is we're going to have some what? Fun. The second is we're going to learn some stuff, really generic stuff. And then lastly, we're going to feel how?
Empowered.
Empowered. Now that word empower means to share your power with others. So they have the ability to do 2 things, to make decisions and take action. So my role here today is to empower you so that you can go out and empower everybody else that you're training, that you're working with, that you're connecting with. If we do those 3 things today, do you think we'll have a good session?
Oh yeah.
I appreciate it. All right. Thanks very much. I'm going to give you all my energy, by the way. You're going to see a lot of energy coming from me up here because I'm going to have energy for about 35, 40 people in the room. I'm going to ask that you give me your energy back. Is that fair to do as well? I appreciate that, because if I didn't give you my energy, how would you feel about me? Boring, yeah, boring, right? You're just going to say, Joe, you're doing this exciting training and it's boring. Absolutely. So I'm going to ask the same from you. If I'm going to bore you, let's make sure we don't bore each other. Deal? Prove it. Put your stuff down. Please stand up. Pop quiz, right? Let's wake up this morning. Everyone put your hands up all the way up. You got stretch in there, you might need it. Stretch to your left, your other left. It's all right. Stretch to your other side. You got stretch in there, we're gonna need it. Stretch all the way down, don't keep your head on the table. It's happened before, I just gotta warn you. We're all about policies here, right? Safety. All right, come on back up. I appreciate that. You know what I really appreciate? Nobody was just standing there looking at me like this. All right, let's point to ourselves and say, I now commit 100%. Remember that you're saying that. Say, I will apply what I learned. Say, I'm going to have a great time. Look at your neighbor and say, you too. You too. You too. Look at another neighbor and say, hey, you. Hey, you. Say, I'm glad you're here. Now, let's pump up the energy a little bit. Find 5 or 10 people that you haven't yet talked to this morning. Walk over to them. If you don't know their name, tell them your name. Give them a high 10 and say, I'm glad you're here too.
I'll meet you today.
Feeling good, but I'm going to say sit up, don't sit down. Are you with me on that? Yep. All right, I appreciate that. So let me ask you a quick question. As I kind of share with you a little bit more of my background, you have a different feeling right now, yes? Is this how your training start? No. Would then? How long did it take to do that? 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and we've already seen how many smiles. How many people are typically not morning people? You don't wake up till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, right? That's when your face wakes up, right? Your body might be up, right? So I'll share with you why I do all this. So a while back, I started with an organization called SkillPath. I started training with them while I was building my own business. Have you heard of SkillPath before? Some of you might have been forced to go to SkillPath. That's how some organizations work. But they first, I tried immediately after graduating college. I said, I'd like to work with you. I sent them my audition tape and they said, nope. I said, great, thanks. So I'm going to keep trying at this and I'm going to keep doing my other thing. I found some other organizations that I began to work with. But then 2 years later, I got a mail. We'll get to mail. But I got mail from SkillPath that said, we'd like you to audition again. Oh, you're asking for me now. All right, fantastic. So I sent in the new tape, because that's what we did back then. We sent in tapes, right? Not CDs, DVDs, and online. So I sent in the tape, and they said, yeah, come in for an audition, but you've got to go through 2 of the trainings. So go see the session that you'd like to facilitate. So the session was how to become a better communicator, really blah title. And so I watched 2 other people facilitate this, and great content board out of my mind, right? The workbook itself is 60 pages. 60 pages for a half-day session. So I knew there's just no way. I cannot do it that way. I cannot do that to the people that I care about sitting in those seats, because I wouldn't want that done to me. So when I came in, I brought in all these different strategies that I've been learning, because throughout my college career, I was involved in an organization called the Leadership Development Program. And all we did was facilitate workshops for all the students, all the organizations, high schools in the area, and I learned something different. So I brought in the approach, and they said, you're great, just don't do all that other stuff. What do you mean? The fun stuff? The stuff that actually gets people to want to learn? He said, yeah. I said, so I can't get them up, I can't get them to stretch? He said, no, don't do that, no, do this, don't do that. So of course I didn't listen to him at all. And I went out and I did all these trainings exactly the way I wanted to. And in the very, very beginning, in the first 10 minutes, I had everybody up out of their seats. I had my sleeves rolled up. I took the coat off, because that is not the experience that they wanted. These people were here and they were prisoners. They were sent here by their boss. So I did these things. I did about 50 events in the first year with them. Came back, looked at the evaluations for the entire year. My trainer rating was a 9.4. Average trainer rating in SkillPath was a 9.2. I thought I was doing something right. So I continue to bring that. I continue to fix the problems out there, because that's the average trainer. The average trainer was there for 10 or 15 years. I did this in my first year. So I'm going to share with you some similar strategies that can boost that trainer rating, if you will, for you. Is that fair? Oh yeah. So that's a little bit more of my background, and we'll learn a little bit more about me. But it's basically training practices that go against standard practice. How many of you walked in here and you said the tables are not the way they're supposed to be? Did anyone immediately recognize it? How many of you have been in this room before? Okay. So if you take a look at the table chart, all the tables face forward. So if the tables are facing forward, what's your name?
Barry.
Barry, what are you looking at when the tables are facing forward?
The wall.
The wall. Right? So every event that I've done, if it has tables or chairs, I move the tables and chairs. I told the guys yesterday, I probably moved 50,000 chairs in my lifetime. It's not about me. It's about the experience. Who else can you see if the tables are turned?
I can see you, and I can break your vision. I can see 3/4 of the front.
Exactly. Are you with me on this? So it's really about setting up a great experience for the learners, for the people involved. And that's what I want to be able to do with us today. So we're 10 minutes in. Turn to a neighbor. What's unique in this session so far? What's different than something that you've experienced in standard or boring trainings? Go ahead, take a moment. Tell them now. All right, how many of you said something like this? There's entrance music, community engagement from the previews, right? There's a visual facilitator introduction. You probably have never seen that before. There's an instant use of humor to kind of have some fun with it. The quick rapport by saying most training and lectures what, and everybody said the same thing, so now we're on the same page. Realizing you're in charge of the session. I don't know if you know that, but you probably felt that. The physical interaction and the no chairs activities. We set a lighthearted tone for the session, would you agree? Right? Simple yet clear slides with no paragraphs. Right? I know what your slides look like, by the way. And partner shares, because this is a conversation. How many of you said something that's on there? How many of you said something else? What are we missing? Anything else that's unique? Energy? Yeah? What else?
Yeah, pictures of, your wife and the kids and some of your background and stuff. That's big, kind of good to know.
Making it personal?
Yeah.
Cool. So that is the whole idea here. So let's make it more personal. That is my son, about 6 months ago. But 5.5 years ago, that was my son. So if you take a look at the screen, 4 pounds, 14 ounces. Is that normal for a baby? No. So my wife's pregnant, and she's pregnant because she wanted to be, not because I wanted to be. And there was this whole, when do you want to get pregnant? When do you want to get pregnant? And I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't know I wanted to get married until I gave you the ring. So this is on you. You decide when you want to do this. So she said, okay, so let's start trying. So after 9 months of nothing working, because it's not as easy as they tell you in high school, finally got pregnant. We go through the process. But then a month and a half before we're supposed to deliver Alec, doctor says, you need to go on bed rest. You need to take it easy. You're causing a lot of stress for your baby. So she takes off, and I start doing everything around the house. But then one morning she wakes me up, and I say morning because it was her morning, but my evening. I went to sleep around 1 in the morning, and she woke me up around 2. So I'm not all that well rested. And she says, time me. What are you talking about, time me? Time me. You mean like time your contractions? She said, yeah. So I grabbed my smartphone and I start timing. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, Alec's not supposed to be born for like 5 weeks. 5.5 weeks. So yeah, wouldn't you know it? Contractions say call the doctor. So I call the doctor. Doctor says, come in, you're going to deliver tonight. 5.5 weeks early. Are we supposed to do that? He said, no, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it work. I said, I didn't even pack the bag, and I'm pretty well prepared. You guys have met me. I'm pretty well prepared. So I packed my bag real quick. He said, don't rush, don't rush. By the time we get to the hospital, it's 4:30 in the morning. And then 11 hours later, because again, it's nothing like the movies, here comes Alec. Alec pops out, cut the umbilical cord. They hand Alec to my wife, who starts crying. Now, my wife is a neonatal intensive care unit nurse at the time, so she knows everything that she needs to know about babies. She starts crying, I start crying. Why am I crying? Because she knows everything. And she said, he's not breathing. So we hand Alec over to the neonatal intensive care unit. Doctors and the nurse practitioners, and they take him and they start suctioning things at him. I'm not even going to get into it, you don't want to know. But then she says, Joe, follow him, go with him. I'm like, I need to take care of you, go with him. And of course I know nothing. So I follow him, I do what I'm told. Happy wife, happy life, you may have heard. Scientifically proven to be true. A month ago, a study came out. Pause. There is no study that says happy husband, there's nothing. Just want to put it out there. Okay. So this is scientifically proven. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. So I follow my son, and I do what it takes. And then every day after we get out of the hospital, my wife gets out 2 days later, every day we go to visit Alec in the NICU for 7 days in a row. And on the 7th day, and this is not a biblical thing, but on the 7th day I said, somebody needs to take care of the house. I haven't finished painting, we haven't cleaned because we haven't been home in a week. You know what I learned in those 7 days though about parents? They don't all visit their kids. And it was a very sad thing for me.
Yeah.
So on that 7th day, my wife goes in the morning, she comes home, I've got dinner ready, candlelit dinner, because it's the first nice dinner we've had all week. We've been eating hospital food. And then later on in the evening at 7 o'clock, I drive to the hospital. The entire time thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I going to the hospital? I feel like I'm going to visit somebody else's child. That is exactly how I felt, because I wanted him where? Home. And I felt like he was living in somebody else's home. So I couldn't stand the entire time I drove to the hospital. I got there, and you know, I did what I thought a good dad should do. I read in books, and it was the monotonous, blah, 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 great content, bored out of my mind kind of feeling, right? And then the nurses come in, and they say, okay, we're gonna take care of her. So I go into the next room, the family room. I call my wife, because she wants to know what's going on every 3.5 minutes. And she says, where are you? What's going on? I said, I'm in the family room. She said, where's Alec? Oh, the nurses are taking care of him. They're changing his diaper, changing his tubes, they're feeding him, checking his vitals. She said, where are you? I said, I'm in the family room. And you know, cell phones, you never know. She said, where's Alec? I said, the nurses are changing his tubes, changing his diaper, feeding him, and checking his vitals. Where are you? Okay. I hear you. So I went back in, hung out with him for a little bit. Nurses came in the next time. I got this. I can change a baby diaper. I've seen you do this for a whole week. I don't want to, but I guess he is my son. Okay, I'll learn how to do this. How do I feed him? And he's got a feeding tube, so feeding is just pushing food through a syringe. That's feeding. Right? Checking his vitals. I knew how to do that. I know they need to write it down, but I told them. So I did all of this. I started feeling like, okay, I got this. In the end, I was reading stories in different voices. All the parents around me were laughing and giggling. And at the end of the day, for the first time in a week, I said, Alec, I love you. I can't wait to come back. And I left that hospital thinking, that was fantastic. I can't believe my wife had to teach me this. She's going to use this on me all the time. Because the whole idea is we've got to take ownership of our experiences. And if we don't, someone else will. If you don't take ownership for your emotions, someone else will. That's how we get offended, right? We get offended when we let somebody else control how we feel. When somebody says something and we don't like it, we take offense to it. I don't get offended for anything because I don't care about anybody else's opinion except my wife's and my kids and my best friends. And unless everybody in the room says the same thing, right? But we've got to take ownership of the experience. And the experience that we're getting into today is the experience of the learners in the room. It's not our experience. We're not the problem. The problem is everything that's going on. So while we're here today, I want us to take ownership of the experience. Are you willing to do that?
Oh yeah.
Can I get it over here?
Oh yeah.
I appreciate that. So that this becomes your experience, it becomes your room. We pick up the stuff on the floor. We don't leave messes as trainers, as facilitators, just as decent human beings. Can't tell you how many rooms I have left for lunch and people just leave stuff all over the place because they haven't learned the idea of taking ownership, that this is their space. This is our space until 9 o'clock tonight. So I want to make sure that we This is our space till 4, right? So let's treat this like our home, if not better. If you're willing to do that, say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, I appreciate it. Cool. So let's talk about this. What do you hate? Tell us what do you hate. Turn to a neighbor on your left or on your right and tell them, what do you hate about stuff like this? Not just what's boring, but what do you hate? One thing. Tell your neighbor now. All right, if you hear me say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Let me get a couple of responses, because what I want to be able to do today is, you see, let's design the opposite of a boring lecture through reverse engineering. A lot of us are familiar with engineering and reverse engineering, so let's take a look at what we don't like. That's exactly what I did. When I was back in college, I remember sitting in that classroom, bored out of my mind, asking, how is this relevant? How could this be relevant? And when I would ask my professors, what do you think they would tell me? You just need to know this. It's part of the curriculum. Wow, you really engaged. I'm impressed. So what do you hate about boring lectures and things like this? You did just say something to your partner, right? It wasn't about my lack of, right? What do you hate about stuff like this?
They talk above you, not to you.
Tell me a little bit more about this.
They're going through the routine. They're not engaged with the audience, or they're not, a lot of times they don't address the audience. It's just, they're having to do it, and they feel like, they act like they're talking about you, not to you, but just put it out.
Almost like the relationship's not important.
Right.
And they just have a message that they have to deliver. I appreciate it. What else?
The slide reader.
The slide reader. Tell me more about that.
That's, or the notes page reader. It's anybody that just reads the slide and clicks the next slide. Paragraphs.
Sure.
I think a lot of times we'll read it just because it's on there. If
Why do you-
Yeah, bullet points, you would probably talk to the point instead of reading the paragraphs.
Why do you hate it so much?
It's, I think you lose accountability. It's not you presenting it, it's you reading to.
Sure.
You don't have any ownership of the message. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Technically, ideally, I'd like to say the screen should not be in the middle of the room, because that's what everybody's focused on. The screen should be off to the side, kind of catty-cornered, almost in this area. So the presenter, I like to say facilitator, can be the focal point, and just use this as a visual aid. It's really all it's supposed to be. But yeah, I can't stand that either. I actually had a professor in college. I will never forget this story until I die. Well, maybe even later, but he was in a class and he was going through slides as if he had never seen them before. And when he got to one, he said, "We're just going to skip that one." I don't know if he didn't know the content or if he just didn't want to read the paragraph that was on there. It seemed like something that came down from above. You know? Yeah, the lecture. Yeah. When you think of the word lecture, what's the image that pops in your mind? Someone behind a podium, right? Talking the entire time. Whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter, but that's the image. Now that podium immediately is a barrier between the presenter, the facilitator, and everybody in the audience. They hide behind that. So I'm glad there isn't one in here today.